Alright, Trekkies and Trekkers, time to take a look at the second episode of the day, which is Things Past. Dax, Garrick, Odo, and Cisco are en route to Deep Space Nine and Runabout, having attended a conference geared toward a dispassionate historical view of the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. Garrick indignantly claims the Bajoran's president ignored every opposing argument he made, but everyone agrees Odo was the highlight of the conference due to his reputation for fairness despite working for the Cardassians during the occupation. However, Odo appears uncomfortable with the discussion. In ops on Deep Space Nine, O'Connor reports to Worf that the runabout has arrived, but there's a problem. He beams aboard with Dr. Bashir, and they discover the four occupants in a comatose state, their life signs very weak. Upon beaming aboard, Bashir tries to awaken them, to no avail. He finds there's an excess of neural energy in their cerebral cortex. Meanwhile, the unconscious crew members slowly awaken elsewhere in what seems to be the promenade in a time when the Cardassians still control the station, then known as Terok Nor. The Bajoran man hurriedly brings the group to their feet, preparing another cleansing. People around them seem to think that the human true Cardassian form of changeling are all Bajoran. The group remembers encountering a plasma storm in the runabout, not much else after that. Meanwhile, on the station, the four have been brought to the infirmary. Worf explains that the runabout encountered a Class 2 plasma storm, a relatively common phenomenon. Unfortunately, Bashir cannot explain what has happened, as there's no computer records of this kind of physical effect resulting from that kind of storm, so he goes about researching the issue. Gul Dukat and Odo's predecessor, Security Chief Thrax, surveyed the Bajoran sector from the second level. Odo begins to hallucinate as the others talk, seeing a dead Bajoran man, shot in the chest with a phaser, walk by and staring at him. He's also wearing the same clothes he is. It disappears as Odo looks away. Soon, a Cardassian officer arrives to take Dax, who has been selected. When Garrick tries to stop them, he gets a bloody nose for his trouble. Interestingly, back in the infirmary of the present, the comatose Garrick's nose begins to bleed. An alarmed Bashir explains to Worf that the brain can have a powerful effect on bodily functions. There is some odd psychosomatic activity occurring in Garrick's brain, but Bashir cannot risk interrupting whatever is happening for fear that one of the patients will be injured or even killed. As usual, there is a purpose to everything Garrick does. When C. Odo and Cisco are alone, he explains that he borrowed a scanning device from the guards when they took Dax and punched him in the nose. He uses to find their Bajoran identities. Cisco is Ishan Che, and Garrick is Julier Guetta, but Odo seems to know this already and immediately identifies himself as Tumor Landi. All of them recount the province of Bajor. Before Cisco even can question about the issue, Quark arrives with a pair of guards starts to speak to three of them, treating them with very little respect. Quark offers the three of them to work at his bar. Odo ponders how much damage to the timeline would there be if Quark had an accident, which Cisco would like to test. The other soldiers take Dax to Dukat's quarters. There is an awkward silence as he looks her over has a important bottle of Kanar. She gives Dukat her name as Lita. He claims he's misunderstood and wants a friend with whom to share his innermost thoughts. Although Dax's position is an unenviable one, it is clear her predicament could be far worse. As Dax learns about Dukat's apparent penchant for Bajoran women, Garrick learns what it's like to be a Bajoran laborer cleaning Quark's bar alongside Cisco and Odo. The experience seems to humble him somewhat. He retains his Cardassian mindset about the Bajorans being better suited for such servile tasks. Cisco knows that he will discuss with Major care when they get back to their reality. Garrick really adds that there are exceptions to every rule. Odo has another hallucination of the Bajoran man he saw previously in two other men, and though he claims his physical discomfort is from the smell of the chemicals he's using, Cisco uses the chance to bring Odo's apparent familiarity with their Bajoran aliases. It is revealed that Ishan, Julier, and Tumor were innocent Bajorans executed for assassination attempt on Dukat's life. Cisco tells Odo and Garrick that they had better find a way off the stage before Dukat makes an example of all of them. The trio try to come up with a plan of escape, and while they do, Thrax enters to discuss the various things with Quark. Garrick recognizes a man, a name, Lavara, as a Romanian spy. However, according to his own datapad, Lavara would have been visiting Terok Nor 7 years ago, in which time Odo was serving as security chief, not Thrax. This only leads to more unanswered questions. Later, on the promenade, Sixers tricky once learned from Major Kira still requests a meeting with the Bajoran resistance, turning over a vase at one of the shops. Then they get some soup and sit at a nearby table to wait. Things becomes even stranger for Odo as his hands are suddenly covered in blood. However, no one else can see it, and it disappears shortly. A Bajoran member of the resistance joins them and Cisco tries to arrange a transport off the station. Before he can finish, there's an explosion nearby, where Gul Dukat was walking with Dax and his entourage. As the Bajoran man leaves, Cisco secretly runs over to see if Dax is okay. However, he and Garrick and Odo are arrested and taken to a holding cell. The rest visits the brig that evening to inform various prisoners of their fate. Under Cardassian law, the verdict is reached before the trial begins, and Cisco and the others are to be sentenced the following day. Odo desperately pleads with Thrax, knowing they are innocent, but the Cardassian officer refuses to refute the circumstantial evidence, claiming the Bajorans need to accept their fate. Back at Dukat's office in Ops, he drones on about how lenient he is with the Bajorans and how he sees them as his children. Dax is obviously uninterested, but pretends to listen intently, waiting for an opportunity. She knocks the Cardassian on the head while his back is turned, rendering him unconscious. Each of the accused deals with the predicament in his own way. Garrick plans an elaborate web of stories as usual in order to try to convince the Cardassians of his true identity. Odo continues to act strangely, but Cisco once again tries to connect the dots, as everything so far is pointed to the Constable. Cisco theorizes that Odo knows more than he thinks he does. Moments in the conversation is interrupted, this time by Dax, who burns a hole in the door of the brig. The Verlem headed for an airlock in Dukat's personal shuttle. Dax feels that she used her knowledge of the situation to ensure that Cardassians will be unable to stop them from leaving. Several soldiers follow suit, and a fight ensues, with Thrax facing Odo. Once the other soldiers have been subdued and Thrax appears trapped, he reveals he is a changeling and escapes through an air duct. Press for time. They continue moving towards the shuttle, but suddenly find themselves back in the holding cell, just 2 hours prior to their execution. The four discuss the situation and its inconsistencies. None of them know how they ended up back in the cell, and the fact that Thrax is a changeling doesn't make any sense, as the founders didn't know about the wormhole at this point in time. Thrax enters and honors Odo's previous request for an audience, taking him to the security office in the next room. There, Odo attempts to reason with him, citing evidence that will prove their innocence. Thrax is more interested in order, telling Odo that the Bajoran occupation has lasted for 5 decades and will likely last another 5 decades more, so the Bajorans need to accept their place in history as a conquered people. When Odo reveals that the 4 of them do not belong here, Thrax tells Odo that he knows and then asks him by name what he's going to do. Suddenly, Odo and the others find themselves on the upper level of the promenade. Cisco, Dax, and Garrick are lined up and about to be executed. Odo begs Thrax to stop this. Thrax simply tells him that it's out of his hands now. Desperate, Odo hacks the Cardassian executioner, claiming he will not let this happen again. He cries so loud that he, not Thrax, should be here. Suddenly, the scene changes again. Cisco, Dax, Odo, and Garrick are now dressed normally. A distance away, the 3 Bajorans Odo saw are lined up for their execution, with Dukat and another Odo, dressed in Thrax's uniform, standing by. The 4 of them watch as the 3 Bajorans are executed. Dukat and the Cardassians vanish, as does the past Odo. Only the bodies of the 3 Bajorans remain. Cisco realizes that Thrax was actually Odo all along. An ashamed Odo reveals that he was the one who let the accused men be put to death, not Thrax. A bombing identical to the one that nearly killed Dukat occurred only 3 days later, if he had performed any kind of investigation instead of relying on circumstantial evidence, then he would have seen that the 3 men were clearly innocent. However, he did know the difference between order and justice, and he allowed 3 innocent men to be executed as an example. Moments later, with 4 awake in the infirmary in the present, Bashir informs Odo that whatever he has been through has taken its toll. Bashir later claims that some of Odo's morphogenic enzymes were apparently left over from when the founders forced him to remain a solid. The events were triggered when the runabout flew through the plasma field, which triggered the enzymes, causing Odo to subconsciously reach out for others with whom to form a link. The end result being a telepathic experience brought on by Odo, who was thinking about the 3 Bajorans at the time. It will make a fascinating paper, he observes. Seeing Odo's reaction, adds, although I don't intend to write one. Just then Kira walks in, and Bashir perceives that he should leave the two alone. After he leaves, Kira tells Odo that even though it's been 2 days, she still can't believe what she read in his report. She tells him that as far as the Bajorans were concerned, he was different. He stood apart from the brutal Cardassians, and that made him special. However, she also admits that she did things during the occupation she'd rather forget, as everyone who lived through it got their hands dirty. But she needs to know from Odo that no other innocent people died on his watch. Odo replies that he doesn't know, but he sincerely hopes not. Yeah. So anyway, let's take a look at some production notes about this episode. While in production, this episode was jokingly christened Nightmare on Odo Street by director LeVar Burton. Terry Farrell finds things past memorable for the makeup that was applied to represent Dax's injuries, which we clearly not seen in the final cut. Farrell commented, quote, "Dax got hurt in that one, so there wasn't that much for me to do. The thing that was such a drag was that my makeup artist, Karen Iverson, did all these really awesome scrapes and burns on me because of the explosion. But because of that they had to put me into the show, he never saw any of it. Dax always looked so clean and neat, and it was fun to be messy and dirty, with blood all over me for a change. But they ended up shooting over the back of my head," end quote. And now let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This is the first appearance of Liam Garrick since the 4th-season episode Broken Link, where he was sentenced to 6 months of prison for sabotage and assaulting Worf. Apparently, this episode is set 6 months after the aforementioned episode. This episode has thematic resonance with the 2nd season episode Necessary Evil. Both evoke Odo's memories of life on Terok Nor to reveal a dark secret from the occupation. When Necessary Evil explored dark deeds of Kira's that she had kept hidden from Odo, Things Past reveals the shameful guilt of Odo's that he had kept hidden from her. The final scenes of each episode both depicted Kira and Odo standing at opposite sides of Odo's decks, whether one trying to come to terms with the action of the other are hauntingly similar. Kira Croft and Nicole Meany do not appear in this episode. The name of the Bajoran woman whose identity Dax assumes is never revealed. In this episode, Worf refers to Runabout Pad 1. In other episodes, runabout pads are identified by letter, not number. Completely forgot about that, so yeah. So overall, I think this episode is pretty interesting, and yeah, I really hope Odo doesn't remember any more horrible things he did during the Bajoran occupation on Terok Nor, so yeah. So overall, I give Things Past 4 warp cores out of 5. Anyway, tune in as we took the final episode of the day, The Ascent. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.